everyone and welcome. This is Chloe with Cousin DIY. Today I'm going to show you how to make this color blocked canvas embroidery. I'm going to get set up and I'll be right back to get started. First step is to download this bird template. You'll find that attached in the description of this video. The next step is to paint your canvas. I chose black and white, and you need to decide where you want to divide the color block colors on your canvas. So what I did is I just set this graphic over the top of my canvas, and I determined that I wanted the slice between the colors to go right down between the two birds on a slight diagonal. And then I'm using an 11 by 14 canvas, and then I measured approximately 5 or so inches up in this corner and approximately 5, the same measurement here and here, and that gave me a guide to place my tape. I found that washi tape worked better than painter's tape for this particular project. So I'm not going to actually paint my canvas, I'm just going to show you how I did that. So I took a piece of washi tape and I measured approximately 5 inches here, 5 inches there. I found the diagonal, and I'm going to paint. I decided to paint the black side first, so I placed my tape where the edge of the white would be, like so. Make sure it lined up nicely. I had to play with this a little bit to get my line straight. So I placed the first piece like so, and then I placed a second piece next to that. And again, you want to make sure this is nice and snug against your canvas. And then I took my black paint, and I used a foam paintbrush, and I just squirted some black paint and I painted the sides, the top, and I did 2 to 3 coats. And in between each coat, you allow it to dry. And you will have some paint that will be covering this tape, and then you're going to, once you're satisfied you have as many coats as you need, you carefully will be pulling the tape off, and then you'll be taping off the other side. You'll be taping along the edge of the black. You want a nice crisp, to end up with a nice crisp line. And you do the same thing as we did on the other side. Add another strip right next to that, and then you're going to paint your white side. And again, you'll find that you'll probably need 2 to 3 coats of paint. Drying between each coat, and once you're happy with your painted surface, you'll remove your tape. The next step is to grab your template. This piece of paper, I believe, is 11 by 17, but you could use 11 by 14. And then I need to position my birds exactly where I want them. So the separation is pretty equal between the two birds. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to tape my template to the back side of the canvas. You're going to want to flip it back over and just make sure that you're happy with the placement, and I am. The next step is to punch your holes. To do that, I used an embroidery needle, and I found that spacing each punch about 3/16 of an inch apart was the best distance for the holes, because you want to be able to follow the curves of the wings, etc. So I started up here in the corner of this wing, punched a hole. Then to get started, I'm just going to 3/16 is right here. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to use this as a guide as I start. Okay, now that I've got a few holes punched, I see what 3/16 is, and I'm just going to try to maintain that distance, and I'm going to punch right down through the paper and the canvas. I'm going to do this for both birds. Okay, now that I have all the holes punched, it's time to remove our template. And I don't know if you can see them or not, but I think it's perhaps easier to see the holes punched on the white side. But when we embroider, we're just going to use the back stitch. We'll start in one corner. I'll use white floss on the black side and black floss on the white side. So I think I'll start with white floss on the black side. So I'm going to take a very long I'm going to cut a very long arm's length of floss to get started with. If we're lucky, we won't have to add any more floss, but if you run short, adding more floss is not difficult. Okay, next I'm going to use my needle threader to thread my embroidery needle. I'm using the same needle I punched the holes with, putting one end of the floss through that hole. Then on the other end, we need to tie a knot. I'm going to tie what's called a tailor's knot. You just, well, actually, to do that, I'm just going to wrap this around my finger like 3 times. Bring your needle and thread. And while you're kind of pinching that wrapped part together, you pull and now we have a knot. So I'm going to start on the bottom and I'm going to start up in this corner. So I'm going to flip it over, find that hole, come up through that hole. We'll come down through the next hole. And next, I always want to make sure your floss is pulled all the way through. Next, I'm going to go up from the back side through the next hole. And then down back through the last hole of the previous stitch. Do that one more time. We'll come up through the next punch hole and back through the end of the previous stitch. I'm just going to continue all along the lines of this bird until I'm finished. Okay, now that I've made my way all the way around this bird, I'm going to tie off the floss on the back, and I think the easiest way to do it that I found is to make a little loop with the original tail that I started the bird with. Make a loop, bring my needle and thread, I want to make sure that doesn't fall off, back through that loop, and I'll do it one more time. I want that knot to be right up against the canvas. Then we can trim off our tails. Now we're ready to embroider our black bird on the white background. First I'm going to load, and I've cut a long arm's length of black floss, which I'm going to load one end of on, I'm going to use my needle threader to load one end on this needle. And make a tailor's knot on the other end around my pinky 3 times. Bring the other end through that loop. Pinch that loop while we're pulling the thread through. And it gives us a knot on the end. Or you can just make a regular knot. I want to start here on this tip of this wing. So the first step, as you recall, is to come back, to come up from the back, like so. Down through the next hole. Then we're going to go back through the next hole beyond that, come back up through there. Back stitch into the last part of the previous stitch, and we're just going to continue this all the way around the silhouette of the bird. Now that I've completed the back stitch all the way around the black bird, I'm going to go ahead and knot the ends of the cord off. I'm just going to go around that original first knot and bring my needle through and pull, so that's nice and snug up against the canvas. So this is what it looks like on the back side of the canvas. And this is what it looks like on the front side. As I was working on this, I noticed that I had some black that kind of bled through under the white, so when I'm finished here, I may just touch that white paint up a little bit. It won't hurt anything. It'll dry and blend right in. If you want, if you make one of these, you can sign it right down here with a black Sharpie or something. I hope you enjoyed this video. These are the first 2 canvas embroidery projects I've ever done, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. If you make your own canvas embroidery, we'd love to see it. You can share it with us on Instagram at #CreateWithCousin. I hope you had a good time today. See you next time. Bye.